Good evening, traders. Welcome to Admiral Markets. My name is Chris, and today, of course, also with us, Nenad, also known as Tarantula FX, and together we're going to take a look at how to keep the brain sharp during trading. First of all, be aware of these two disclaimers. The first one states that this webinar and later on recording is shown to a global audience. Please take a look at admiralmarketsglobal.com, select your country of residence, and contact an appropriate entity for more information and details. Also, please be aware that trading for exchange and global financial markets is considered high risk. Please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. This webinar is for informational and educational purposes only. By continuing watching this webinar, you agree with this disclaimer and you are aware of the risk involved when trading. All right, thanks so much, everyone. So we're going to kick off and talk about the brain a bit and our mind, and that is, as you probably understood, a very important element of trading. It is, together with risk, I would say, absolutely on the top of the list. I know strategy systems, to be honest, it's one of the things that I like to talk about the most too, and I think that you probably, most of you would like that as well the most, right? Trading systems, analysis, signals, indicators, etc. Sorry. Well, I can move on. Our names are Chris and Nenad. These are our pictures. But this is, the mind is basically where we decide how to implement the system. That's just reality. So that's why this is so important. All right. Before we start though, be aware we got the Zero to Hero video course available for you. Now, if you're watching this later on this year or next year perhaps, and it's not on the main website, admiralmarkets.com anymore, just contact customer service, and perhaps there's still a way to join this, because this is a video series that we made like a week or two ago, so it's very, very new, but this is timeless stuff, and it's still going to be valid and useful in the future. Also, by the way, Admiral Markets was voted Best Forex Educator 2016 in the Forex Awards in London. So we were so happy to hear that and have received that award. So that's great. Thank you all for joining, watching our analysis, and visiting these webinars, etc. All right, so the brain. Well, first of all, I'm not an expert on the brain. We just, of course, do read about it and learn about it, because yeah, it is an important part of trading. So we do want to get better at this. It is not our field of study that we've done in the past, but we want to show you what we've gained in knowledge till now, and hopefully everything is here is accurate. If not, feel free to let us know. That's fine. But as far as we've understood, the brain works as follows. There are 4 ways we kind of, let's say, focus, or the 4 states of mind, basically. First of all, there's the focused attention, all right? Very much, of course, I think in vision, you hear about it a lot. Stay focused, focus on what you're doing. So that's very important. Mind wandering, attention switching, and basically alertness for change. So when we're focused, there's still the potential that you might lose that focus if, for instance, you hear something unexpected or you see something unexpected. That is, in the background, your subconscious scanning the environment to see if any change that really you don't expect is occurring. That has to do with the past. Back in the day when we were, wandering around, basically, right? We were scanning for dangers, and we could be focused on maybe a food source that we were trying to gain for us and our tribe, right? Our family. But if something dangerous was around the corner, we wanted to be aware of that. So we still have that, although nowadays perhaps it's less important. Although in some cases, yes, cars coming, that is a change that is helping us hopefully avoiding that car. So that's the alertness for change. That's something that's subconsciously in the background. It's kind of always there. All right. The other three things, basically, we can only have one of the three. Either we're focused, either our mind is wandering and we're thinking and daydreaming in a way, right? Or we are switching between the two or switching focus. So we could be focused on the TV, but when we hear something on the radio, we can switch the attention from the TV to the radio. That's attention switching as well. So we can switch the attention from one focus to another, or we can move from focus to mind wandering. This is basically another separate state of mind, is when we switch the attention. So hopefully, is this part clear? This is basically the setup here, what I want to discuss, these four elements. And then we'll go into these kind of topics and discuss them and explain what is best within our world of trading. So just a why or yes if everything is clear. If you have any questions on this, let me know, because we'll be using these terms often as we go along. So it's better that everything is clear right now with regard to these four segments here or topics. All right, so all good to go here. Do we have a green light with this part, or any questions? Feel free to use that chat that we have available. So with focused attention, this is, a lot of attention is being given on focused attention. To be focused is very important. And yes, I agree, it is very important, right? Now the thing is that it is good to have a balance between focus and mind wandering. And this is a balance that often is not discussed as far as I have, seen, because you could be always focused, right? Nonstop. But the mind wandering has an advantage too, that you can interpret and deal with and kind of with your own, think deeper about the potential consequences of what you're hearing or what you're focused on. If you're only focused on something, you cannot really absorb or kind of work with the material that you are receiving. So both things are good. Now, the focus basically is perceived as a better thing than mind wandering. But both are in fact important. All right, let's start with that. Now, within focused, and we'll dive into that a bit more later on. Within the world of focused, right, it is extremely important because by focusing, we really learn. If we are distracted, we really don't get into a phase where we are gaining knowledge, where we are gaining experience. This is very important with trading, as with anything. If you want to get better at trading, we got to be focused on it. We got to be engaged with it. Without engagement, we do not get to the next level. All right. So if we are, trying to trade, but at the same time having TV on, checking our email and watching Twitter and listening to music and all these things and etc. and even more, you get the point, then that's going to be a very difficult environment to focus. We're going to be constantly switching attention. And we'll dive into that in a second. But it's not, not possible to really focus and we won't learn. So we need a distractless environment in a way. And when you get to a point where you're focused and you're learning and you're more engaged and you do that consistently, then eventually, the markets are the trading is going to get more familiar. Your trading plan is going to get more automatic. All right. And we're going to get to a point where we're in a flow. Now, this flow is a state of mind, basically, where we are seeing our best performance. A flow occurs when a task that we're doing, we find interesting, we find rewarding, but we also have the skill set to do it. So if we're a bit insecure about our trading, we probably won't get into that flow yet. But that could happen when we get better at trading, when we have more experience at trading. When we're in the flow, our productivity is very high and time goes fast. That means that emotions will start to fade away. We will be focused fully on implementing our trading plan. We will just fully zoom into that. And all the worries that we have will kind of, when trading will slowly but surely fade away when we're in that flow. There will not be, there will be less present or not present. But flow is only achieved when we're doing something that is within the circle of our competence, which means that we really have to be pretty good at what we're doing. All right, so what does that mean? Because that means that for beginning traders, we cannot expect to have flow. We don't have that security yet. All right, but that's okay. Don't expect that, but it's not strange. We just started trading, right? If you're a beginning trader, what you need to do is focus on learning, focus on charting, focus on analyzing, focus on trading, demo, go to webinars, read about it, be fully engaged as much as you can, and you'll get more experience and more confidence. All right? Now, as soon as you start building that up, then you're going to get moments where you feel that trading and analysis is getting closer and closer to what you would call that circle of competence. You get more and more, you get better and better, right? So at a certain moment, you're going to feel that flow. And when you get there, that's a great place to be, all right? Now, when you get to that spot, you might have it a couple of times, but you might not be able to, you might not always have it, right? That will, be easier when you get even more advanced or more experienced. Then at that point, you'll have it, let's say regularly, you'll have it maybe every day, you'll have it more often, etc. You might be even able to trigger it yourself. You get the point. All right? It will basically gradually grow as you go along. Now, focus is, of course, important to have that flow. Otherwise, you won't have it. Once you have the flow, everything goes without resistance. Everything is a lot easier, but it takes time. When we have the flow, we focus on what is really needed when trading. All right. Now, this is important because in flow we don't have decision fatigue. You see, when we have decisions to make, we basically, as the day goes on, we get tired of making decisions. That's why it's also important, basically, when you start out trading, not to push your trading too far, because eventually, emotionally, you'll just be, okay, you might run into bad decisions because you're just tired of making choices. All right, so you want to be careful of that. When you get more experience, that fatigue will happen later, but be aware of this. Decision fatigue also happens when you have a lot of attention switching. All right, so we'll dive into that in just a second. First of all, I want to tell you that there are two types of thinking. Type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is basically slow and deliberate. It's very conscious. Type 2 is quick and impulsive. It's very subconscious. So have you ever made a trading decision that was really like split second? That's a type 2. If you're comparing your trading plan to the current market environment and doing that a few times, and 5 minutes later you decide to skip the trade, that's type 1 thinking right there. So basically what you want to do is, the best is when you do type 2 for things that are not so important. In my vision, whether I choose a purple sweater or a blue sweater is not so important at the beginning of the day. So I just grab one, or the day before even, right? And I prepare it in my at my desk. I don't really put a lot of thought into it, right? That could be different for others. I don't blame you if you do. That's not the point. It's just to give you an example, right? That like what is important. If it's not important, no need really to put a lot of effort into it. That decision could be quick and impulsive. If it is important for you, then it is good to think about it, right? And weigh the advantages and disadvantages. Buying a house, well, that's important, right? That's an investment. you'll be, have consequences for at least a few years. So yeah, take the time. But interestingly enough, if it's within your circle of competence, then type 2 thinking is also actually pretty handy. If you're very skillful at something, let's say I always give the example of driving, right? When you start out driving, you do type 1. The more experience you get in driving, you gradually move to type 2 thinking. It becomes more automatic. All right? So with trading, you'll see a shift if, most of the time if you allow yourself that to switch from type 1 gradually to type 2. It will not be something that you'll probably do subconsciously. It will probably go automatically, slowly but surely. If you feel, if your subconscious feels, ready for that, most likely. So a bit about mind wandering. Basically, as I said, mind wandering is not as bad as most people in the West at least think. That could be different in different cultures. That could be, various approaches and thoughts about that. And I don't know to be honest, how other parts of the world think about mind wandering. I know that in some parts of the world, meditation is very popular. So probably in that case, they actually don't want to mind wander. I don't know about that enough. So let's have a comment about that. But in the West, I have a feeling that mind wandering is not that positively seen. It looks like a waste of time, etc. Now, that's really not that true from my perspective, at least. It is not wasting time if we do it at the right time. All right? What we as traders don't want to do is mind wander during trading. Right? We want to focus on our analysis, focus on catching those trades, focus on implementing a trading plan correctly. And we don't want to get distracted by unproductive things around us, right? Because that will make us, if we do get distracted, we'll have, we'll get into the attention switching mode, and that is a big disadvantage, which I'll explain in the next slide. So yes, we want to focus on trading when we're trading, right? But mind wandering, when we're finished with trading, when we are in the evening or maybe perhaps before trading, it is okay to mind wander. It is actually healthy. As long as we just set aside time to do that, set aside a half an hour to write down our thoughts before trading. That's a tip I've heard before. Or after trading, write down the evaluations, right? Here too, some mind wandering will occur automatically as you think about the trading day. Very good to have mind wandering, all right? But mind wandering will only work if we really set aside the time. It cannot be pushed. It cannot be rushed. We need to give ourselves the time to do it and feel relaxed and feel okay with doing this process. All right? Now, you might wonder, who does this? Well, actually, interesting enough, many top entrepreneurs, investors, managers, people really top in their fields do mind wandering. They really set aside time for this, to think about their business, the direction of their company, or whatever they want to think about. And you might be surprised. I don't know if you are, but maybe some of you are. The thing is that if you are doing perhaps, I mean, everyone has different jobs, but if you're doing more routine job, let's say, if someone is doing a routine job, then it's beneficial just to focus on that task and get it, let's say, finished as quickly as possible, right? In a way without, as quickly as possible, but of course, quality is important too, right? But if you're thinking long-term strategic, vision stuff, then mind wandering is good, is needed. Now, as a trader, yes, things are good to implement, right? There we don't need to mind wander too much. But mind wandering is good to think about how we can improve our trading, how we can think about creative ways to improve our system, our analysis, looking for solutions like that, using our creativity. That's always good. And the best environment for that is when we're mind wandering. All right. So this is it's absolutely healthy. It's absolutely good. It helps us set up a better kind of approach. Now, the good thing about it is that when we do mind wandering, we kind of give our subconsciousness a task. We're kind of saying to our subconsciousness, this is what is important for me. I would like to find a solution to this. So you might not find it the first time you think about it, but maybe a day, a week later, you might all of a sudden bump into a thought that solves whatever you wanted. All right, let's say you're thinking about what you think is the best approach for trade management. And 2 days later you think, maybe if I trail the stop with an ATR in combination with parabolic, that will be the best. Now, why did you all of a sudden think about that? It's because your subconscious was actually, you put your subconscious to work. And it was actually in the background as you're sleeping, as you're awake and thinking about other things. But subconsciously, your mind was actually trying to solve this task. And all of a sudden it surfaced and boom, you had it. Inventors throughout the ages had this when all of a sudden, boom, it hit them. But that boom hitting them was probably not that out of the blue as it might seem. They probably set their mind and gave themselves that task before. Last but not least, attention switching. This is a very, very high cost. It eats up tons of energy. And it is very, very not beneficial for our mind because it's just very costly. All right. That's why multitasking is not good. That's why we always hear multitasking is not good, right? This is why. Attention switching. Even though we think it's something that you might not notice immediately. But as you switch attention, it eats up energy. And at the beginning you might not notice, but eventually it's really going to hit you and you lose that willpower and you're going to have decision fatigue. This is all researched and scientifically done, and I read it in a book about the mind. Unfortunately, I wanted to actually grab that book so I could tell you the book in the live webinar, but I forgot to grab it, unfortunately, and I don't see it around me. But yeah, I will write it down in a second. When Nenad takes over, I'll write it in the chat. So basically, it's a very high cost. And that's why we want to focus on things one at a time. So things we can do to do that. I mean, basically, what you want to do is, for instance, set up blocks, block of analyzing, blocks of trading, blocks of trade management, blocks of evaluation, blocks where you check out social media, other analysis of other people, and check your email. So the more you kind of do blocks like this, the more focused we just stay on one thing. And then we don't have to switch. Of course, eventually we'll switch, right? We have to switch. When we finish the analysis, we finish the analysis. Obviously, we have to switch. But the point is that we don't switch in between when that part is not finished. Right? Some switching is always needed. But the point is that it's to avoid unnecessary switching because that eats up costly energy. So yeah, basically, this is very important, and segmenting the time like that is a key advantage to keeping focused. Okay. Now, the reason why we actually have the tendency to do this, attention switching, it seems like once we start, it's actually difficult to stop. Does anyone recognize that? When you're like checking social media and then like you focus on something for 30 seconds and your mind wanders off and thinks, huh, what if, I wonder if anything is happening on my email or the other, or TV, right? Does anyone recognize that? That once you kind of like check that, then you want to check that, and then you check that, and then it's difficult to stop that pattern? Okay, I got one person saying yes. That's great. So, thank you, Darshan. Happy to hear that. So anyone who recognizes that is because it's addictive in a way. I know that sounds like a heavy word, right? Addictive, but um, it's because once we start in that mode, it's really difficult to break out of that cycle. Once we focus, we get into things. We start slowly, we get surely into a flow, and then it's easier. The path of least resistance, yet again, is easier to continue. Whereas once we start to check out, once we get used to attention switching, the path of least resistance is actually to keep doing that. Yet again, path of least resistance, so important. So a very useful tip, I think, what I do for myself is get through the start. Once you bite through the beginning and you kind of like force yourself not to continue or start that attention switching, it becomes easier and easier. All right, so basically attention switching feels good. I know it's like a food for the brain. It costs a lot of energy, but it's really yummy. That's the irony of it. So it feels good. We think that we've done something basically. The more smaller tasks we do, it's like continuous kind of like rewards for ourselves. Oh, I did that. I did that small. Basically, we do all kind of like not so important mostly things, but we do think that we did something, so that feels good, and we kind of like push forward the really important thing, the difficult thing. So starting with the difficult thing and the important thing, that is the most. Always start with that, because these lighter things are really candy for our brain, and we think that we've done something but we didn't. It just feels good in a way. So that is the problem basically with attention switching. It is highly attractive in a way, or addictive. So now basically, when do we start postponing tasks? Because that's basically behind the trigger, the motive of attention switching could be the fact that we are not really looking forward to a task, whatever that could be. And by the way, this all things besides trading, this we can use for all things in life, right? Of course. So, and this has been also researched, what kind of balance do we, when do we start postponing things? And three things. I think there was one more actually, but is the difficulty of the task, the reward that we expect, and when we expect the reward. By the way, the reward, if we expect it 20 years from now, it's less rewarding, obviously, than if we expect something sooner. Of course, the higher the reward, the more motivating, and the confidence level we have with that task. So the balance here is that if it's difficult and we don't feel as confident and the reward is low, we're going to be postponing that task. And justly so, by the way, as well. It could be very rational to postpone that, all right? But in some cases, it's not rational. In some cases, we need to do that task. But for a combination of this reason, somehow it is not appealing to us, and we're going to be postponing it, and we're going to compensate that with attention switching. All right, so some tips and tricks. Basically, what I find is, I like to do 6 or 7 hours that I am like a block of 6 or 7 hours, and then I take a break personally. That's when I start to have fatigue and I just need to step away from the PC and go for a walk. And now that could be different for everyone. I think that's This is probably on the high side. I'm not sure. I think that they say, experts say, you can focus on an hour or something like that, and you should take a 5-minute break. I don't like that stuff, to be honest. I mean, for myself, it could work out well for others, but when I get into the flow, I found it highly annoying to stop, and I want to keep going. Uh, so that's when you get into flow, a break could be very annoying. So for me, that flow can last till 6-7 hours, and then then that's when I get tired and a bit fatigued. Then it's good to take a break and get some food and water. I have next to me normally, so that's okay. But extra water maybe, fill up water, etc. So, but taking the breaks at the right time, that is good for you. I try to segment my day. I have a weakness, which is email. Um, can't do anything about that. I like to check my email. I recognize it. Just can't rid of that habit. I can't get rid of that habit. But otherwise, I think that I do pretty well with what I'm trying to advise here to you, with trying to follow up my own advice. And I do try to segment the day into blocks where I do more, let's say, some tweets, right? I try to do that after I do I start with wave analysis. It's the first thing I do. Then I do tweeting, social media and Twitter. And then I dive into analysis. All right. So basically dividing the day into blocks with also attaching some goals to those. I mean, not that you have to write those down, but just like in your mind a bit, depending on situations, but also kind of what you want to do that day as well. Yes, you do have the most focus and attention at the beginning. It's a primacy effect, so be aware of that. And you have also the most willpower at the beginning. Willpower is something that you kind of spend, so it's gonna be drained as you go along. And if you want to clear your mind, there's a great book I see in the bookshelf. I can read it to you, from David Allen, Getting Things Done. Highly recommend it. He advises, write everything down. All your actions, goals, your meetings, your steps, your agenda, everything. Because that clears the mind. Because our mind is not intended to keep a list of things. It's not good at that. It's better to have the list of things on paper, because if we don't have it on paper, then our mind is basically nagging us. Like, don't forget that, or don't forget that. If we have it on paper, subconsciously we feel relaxed about that we have everything under control. One important note, though, is that having it on paper is not enough in itself. We gotta know that we use that paper. We gotta know that we actually have a way of using it. If we just write it down and subconsciously we know that it's somewhere, but we never will bump into it anymore, that doesn't help. We got to have a method that we know that wherever, okay, I write it down in an Excel sheet, for instance. So I know that every day I look at that Excel sheet. So I'm at peace, I'm calm in my mind that I know that anything I write there, I will bump into. So as long as you have a system for yourself about that you write it, but also use it, your subconscious will feel at ease, and it will not nag you. And that also will help you with focusing, because you will not run into, oh, I have to do the shopping, oh, gotta pick up laundry, and that will also cost you, that will distract you from your focus. So if you take care of that, focusing is also easier. All right, that's my part. I'm going to grab the book that I used, used for finding the 4 categories here. And you can read more about that. I'm going to write it in the chat. And in the meantime, I'm going to see if Nenad is here. He's going to share his thoughts. Hi, Nenad.
Hi, Chris. Excellent. And I see a great comments here from Darshan and Sean. Darshan is saying this is turning into a fabulous webinar, young man, and Sean is saying I fight that all the time. So excellent points, Chris. I will do some additional tips about how to actually stay calm, and I will tell you that while I was doing the analysis today for Euro GBP, actually I listened to binaural beats. Well, that is what I will be also talking about, but don't forget that it's not for everyone. Those are some things that you should really pay attention to. So there are some guidelines that you should follow, and I will say it, of course, like a small disclaimer for all of you who want to actually use binaural beats. So binaural beats, brain exercises, and keep your mind sharp. So that is what we will be talking about today. So binaural beats and how does it work? First of all, let me tell you that binaural beats were discovered around 19th century. Actually, I think it was like 1839 and 1840, and actually the physicist named Wilhelm Dove created it. And the thing is that he discovered when we have two different signals, two different frequencies that are presented separately, well, your brain will detect the variation between the frequencies, and the brain will develop its own difference signal. So binaural beats is actually signals of two different frequencies, and it creates the third signal. The third signal is called binaural beat. So in doing so, when two frequencies are mixed together, our brain will create its own frequency. So it's his own agenda, and that frequency is called a binaural beat. Now, binaural beat is the thing that is resonating with your brain frequency. So it will actually make your brain resonating in tune with a beat. If the beat is, let's say, for example, 10 hertz, your brain will also resonate at the same 10 hertz frequency. So let's say that, for example, how it works. Let's say that left ear has a frequency of 110, and the right ear has the frequency of 115. And when your brain mixes those two frequencies together, it will correspond to the third frequency, and it will create a third frequency that is passing at a difference of 5 hertz. And that is what is binaural beat. And if you want to listen to binaural beats, you will definitely need a headset, because headset is needed for a proper listening. You cannot do that by listening to standard Wi-Fi equipment or your speaker set. You need actually to have a good headset, and that is also noise proof, so your room should be isolated from the noise. So the brain will follow the beat, and that is called frequency following response. I mean, I didn't make it up. Actually, there were some studies you can probably find somewhere on the internet. I think the physicist by the name of Gerald Oster, he was actually doing some research on this subject. So you can find a lot of information about binaural beats. You can find free samples of binaural beats. And the point of those is that you can achieve the states of concentration, relaxation, and there are some things that will definitely help you. I mean, people like to meditate a lot, especially people who come from eastern parts of the world. If you ask me, I mean, my own opinion, I think that it's great. But some people, as Chris said, Westerners, they're not into that, and they can easily be distracted. But guys, think about it. Maybe distraction is what makes you lose, even if you really have a good winning setup. Now, also about binaural beats, there are different types of binaural beats. So it's beta brainwave, alpha brainwave, theta, delta, and gamma. I will mention all of those and I will tell you which are my favorite, because I don't want to get asleep while I'm doing the analysis, or I don't want to get asleep while I have a trade open and I need to constantly monitor for it. So it's very, very, very sensitive subject. Beta brainwaves are in between 14 hertz to 32 hertz. Okay, so it's called focused brainwaves. And those beta brainwaves are produced when we are wide awake, alert, active, and engaged in mental activity. Also, that is the brainwave for a fight-flight response. It gives us an increased concentration and alertness, and it provides us with improved logical thinking, reasoning, and critical thinking. Also, it will try to remove the feelings of anxiety, stress, and unfocused thoughts. Now, another thing that is another brainwave that is very useful, of course, while you want to trade or you're trading is alpha. Well, that means relaxed but yet aware, meditative. So that is the state when we will experience a lower frequency wave in between 7 and 14 hertz, and the state is generated when our thoughts are not focused and our minds wander freely. Now, alpha is considered the bridge between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Theta brain waves are in between 3 to 5 to 7 hertz. It's deep relaxation. It's used in meditation for centuries. It will help expand visualization and creativity. Slowest band of waves that occur when we are in deep dreamless sleep is delta. It's in between 0.1 and 3.5. It's called deep sleep. So if you want to listen to binaural beats that are producing the 0.1 to 3.5 hertz, well, have in mind that you might get asleep. But it's beneficial for the body, which restores and heals itself when in this state. So if you're feeling sick or you're feeling that you're not in a good mood, you're actually feeling, you're not feeling well generally, then these delta brainwaves should help you relax. Gamma brainwaves, 40 hertz or higher, it's called mind mastery. And that is the frequency that brings with the ability to process large amounts of information in relatively small amounts of time. It's most rapid frequency. And think, is it good for trading? So sleep is the golden chain that ties health and our bodies together. Thomas Dekker said it. Yes, you need to have a good sleep. So think about the sequence. You should sleep well and fine before you start to trade. But once you wake up, forget about delta and theta, right? Now, features of beta brainwaves. That is the brainwave for a fight-flight response. It gives us increased concentration, feelings of anxiety, stress, and unfocused thoughts are removed. Alpha brainwaves alleviate stress and depression. It will and can reduce brain pressure. It will increase motivation, energy, and happiness, and it provides us with increased memory retention, concentration, and focus for learning. Theta brainwaves, deep relaxation, improved memory, speed up healing, improve physical healing, better sleep, reduce mental fatigue and stress. Delta brainwaves, well, anti-aging hormone, AGH hormone is increased, human growth hormone, due to stimulation of pituitary gland. Well, people who came from eastern parts of the world know well what is pituitary gland. It increases empathy, understanding, and compassion for others. So delta brainwaves, not just for sleep, but for these kind of things. And gamma brainwaves promote self-control, greater than average feeling of happiness, increased awareness, and increases compassion for others. So, my favorite binaural beat to listen to while I am trading is actually in between beta and alpha. But I'm more fond of alpha brainwaves because, as I said, it's the bridge between conscious and subconscious mind. So when I trade and before I start to trade, I listen to alpha and beta. Beta before I start to trade, and alpha brainwave. Well, not just trade, guys, but do the analysis for you and for me, of course. So this is what I did today. I was listening to binaural beats, alpha brainwave, and I mean, now it might sound strange to people who are not accustomed to this. I like these binaural beats. I need to say I'm fond of using it. And this was the analysis that I did that actually was excellent because the price went here and started to reject down for like a lot of pips. Well, uh, I mean, it crossed my mind while I was listening to binaural beats. So I was scanning for pairs. I was actually looking for which kind of trade I might give to you today. And I said, why not try something different? Maybe a trade that it's not a trend trade typical, but it has the chance to be a counter trend trade. So if you read between the lines, I gave you two setups. Setup for short trade and setup for long trade. So I don't know, maybe it's not because of binaural beats, but well, maybe it's connected to it. How can I know that? I know that I like to hear it. It's good for me, for myself. So, well, I can tell you that you can try to use it maybe. But please, this is a risk disclaimer. I really need to give you a risk disclaimer for this. Okay? So there are groups that should not use it. And these people and persons who have similar problems with health, never, please don't use this. People who have seizures and who are prone to epilepsy, children, pregnant women, and people with heart problems or with a pacemaker, people who suffered also from brain strokes. Do not use this. This is my risk disclaimer, and don't use that. So before you start to use it, please ensure that you're healthy. You can listen to full-line binaural beats at this channel here. Okay, so this is the channel, this is the link where I will give you some moment to snapshot it. I mean, there are some good binaural beats, but if you want to take a full advantage of binaural beats, you can actually, I think that you can actually have also that for free. Just Google for it. You will see some commercial binaural beats, some free binaural beats. You can use your iPhone or Android phone to actually listen to binaural beats. There is a program, I think, for listening, specifically for listening to binaural beats for iPhone and Android users. I have it on my iPhone, so yes, you can actually use that, guys. I think that you should give it a try. So that is what helps me really a lot to be in sharp, to keep my mind sharpened, and to actually, I really like to listen to it when I start to analyze pairs that could be good for trading. So that is about binaural beats. Another thing that crossed my mind, some brain exercises that you can do, crosswords. You can read something, but other than is trading books. Also, guys, you can play online video games that require thinking. And actually, there was a study out there. I don't remember who conducted the study, but I remember that I read that people who play online games have better health, and actually it helps people to be more focused and keep their brain sharp. Actually, I remember that some very popular online games were cited, but I can say you can also play whichever game you want that requires thinking, because when you think, you actually engage your brain. So thinking is very important to be for your brain to be in a perfect condition. Think about it, because brain wants you to engage him, to give him the work. So brain is always an intermediary between our alter ego subconscious mind and our body. We receive the wish and we receive the requirement for an action by our conscious and subconscious mind that is translated to brain, and by using our physical limbs like hands, we are actually creating something. So if I want to, let's say, drink a water, first I need to feel the urge to drink a water, but that is just a wish to drink a water because I want it. And then I go and use my hands to pour the glass, to water in my glass and drink it. So you see, brain actually connects your inner yourself, your inner you, and your physical body. So always keep it engaged. Board games also. Play board games in between. Okay, of course you cannot play the game if you are focused on trading, but in between, when you have some spare time, try to play some board games. Try to listen to music that is relaxing, not just binaural beats, but something that puts you in a good mood. But it will not, but not the music that will distract you, like you start to dance or whatever you want. No, you should listen to the music that is actually relaxing your body. Also do some quiz, and there are some interesting IQ tests all over the internet. I mean, I don't want to get deeply involved with is it a good result, because I mean, you will see some results that are not normal. I mean, very often you will see the result of 200 IQ. I mean, if I had an IQ of 200, I would be a genius, much higher than Einstein. So I don't think that all results, of course, are very accurate. But it's good. I mean, it's good because it keeps your brain engaged. So you will be thinking a lot. There are not easy questions out there. There are some hard questions. You really need to focus. But believe me, it's very interesting. I like to do that. And I do it very often. I mean, I like those brain thingies and brain tests. Really helps me to stay sharp. So those are my recommendations. Maybe you will find something other than this that can help your mind stay focused. Now, also try these things, guys. Okay, first of all, try to narrow down your focus, because understanding trading psychology will play a huge role as a good, successful forex trader. Because one of the most important steps, if you see tons of different stuff on the internet, and let's say that you follow 10 different analysts, you will be easily distracted. So narrow down your focus. Okay, not just, it doesn't mean that you should be focused like staring at screen for 8 hours. Actually, it means that you need to attribute time to the things that make you the most money. If it's one analyst or other analyst, okay, good. If it's 2 or 3 or 4 pairs in forex or equities, it should be 3 or 4, not 34. So narrow down your focus. Don't look at tons of different currency pairs or indices. Try to narrow it down. So follow less pairs. Also try to find trending pairs. That is very important. First of all, don't search for opportunities when price is going high, you want to buy it, you want to jump into a freight train. So find trending pairs. If you don't have the ability to scan for 25 pairs, I'm not saying that you should listen to gamma binaural beats in order to be hyperactive, but then scan for 5 pairs. And try to simplify your approach to trading. So instead of trying to load your watch list or your chart with tons of indicators, try to find less pairs and try to do it with a couple of indicators or price action tools, guys. Just try to simplify. Read proven things. I mean proven things that you know that it will give you some result. Don't read just every single analysis you find on the internet. And don't be distracted, because distractions can definitely make you lose even if your trade setup is good. So if you try to catch every single pair, if you try to catch every single trading opportunity, you are destined to fall. You need to focus on what your strengths are and define your own trading style. If you don't know what your trading style is, I will tell you. If the pair is with a trend, you need to apply trend setups like positional trades. If you see that pair is trying to reach very strong historical support resistance, you will scan for counter trend trades. If you missed a trending opportunity, or if you missed a counter trend opportunity, then try to go for a scalp. If you see that pair will try to break out of an important chart pattern or important level, and it's already broken above or below, try to go with breakout, pullback, continuation, or breakout, retest trade. That is what I do. I don't want to present you or make an analysis with a pair that has already gone. I mean, that is why we use POC. We want to be patient. But if we are not patient, then we need to scalp. You cannot treat the same positional trade and the scalping trade. And for that, you should not be distracted, because it's easy to spot when pair has already been in a move or it's actually the end of the move. Because ultimately, you want to trade like big banks. You don't want to trade like 90% of traders trade. And that is what we have been teaching you to do, to trade like big banks. Okay, trade like institutional traders. What do I do then? So I already said that I really like music, and I also like to listen to binaural beats. But other than that, I use stimulating aromas. I use incense sticks, and I like the smell of some incense sticks. I have that usually the first 3 hours of my trading hours, because guys, I need to say, you already know that I have so many things to do, and while I'm preparing the analysis, while I'm reading stuff and preparing blogs and answers to Forex Street blog questions, whatever, I really like to feel that stimulating aromas that comes from incense stick. So people in India know a lot about it, and I really prefer to use it, and it helps me. I really like to feel the smell of incense sticks. Try, maybe you can help it. Fish. I didn't eat fish back in time, but I started to eat fish, and I really like fish that is full of omega-3 acids. So those are healthy acids that will help your brain at the first place. So fish is very, very good to eat if you are a trader or you are doing some important financial job. Music, of course, it's always present, and try to be positive. I don't know that maybe you notice that I am always very, very positive about you, about trading, about all these things, and I really have huge energy to bring you my own positive thoughts. So actually, I'm really trying to do that. Although you cannot see me now, you can only hear my voice. I'm really putting a lot into all these things, all these webinars, and I'm trying to give you positive thoughts. And that is very important, and very, very important. You need to be surrounded with people who are positive. If it's not, we cannot only talk about trading, systems, analysis, give me that indicator, Nenad, please analyze this pair, Chris, whatever. You need to see the whole wood, not just the tree. And this is like a part of the wood. So positive thoughts, be surrounded with positive people. Energy vampires, you should dry them off. Okay? Don't be surrounded with people who are negative, because you will be receiving negative energy, guys. Okay? So very important. And thank you for comments. Well, I'm trying to really give you all of this. And finally, green tea. I mean, green tea. It might sound illogical to you. Why green tea? Why not some other tea? Because for me and what I have read about, green tea is very stimulating also to your brain, and it will keep your brain healthy. So definitely try to implement these strategies, and well, maybe you will adopt something out of it. Maybe we succeeded to bring you positive emotions, positive energy, and if it is the fact, then I'm really happy. I'm really happy person, because it's not just money that makes me happy. I'm happy when I see that others around me are also happy. So thank you guys for your comments. We will talk about these things from time to time, and of course, as always, I wish you a great week ahead, and talk to you soon, guys. Thanks everyone, Sean, Bernard, Jack, Nat, Darshan. Thanks for your comments, and we wish you a great week, and stay safe, trade safe, and talk to you soon. Cheers. Bye for now.